And I thank the Lord for, is that sound okay? Okay, you got it? Hold on just a minute, guys. We'll do this. Say amen for my son coming in, my other son. We're just grateful and thankful to God for direction in life. Most of us have lived long enough to know that some folks, Brother Mark, they don't have a clue. And the thing about it is, I had a tendency to take directions from folk that didn't have a clue. You know, it takes backbone in order to find your way. Because most of the time there's pressure, peer pressure. It's a funny thing, you 66 years old, 64 years old, and you still scared to go the right way. Because you're scared that somebody won't like you. The people pleasing. And the thing about it, I found in London is most folk don't like you no way. It really ain't got nothing to do with you. They didn't like you when you walked up. And you spend what? You mess around and give a person 10 years that you shouldn't have gave 10 minutes. I tell you, your walk with God, Sister Kathy Jacobs, was a personal walk. And that's the reason I will never again be involved in any denomination, any movement. I preach grace because I understand that God is God all by himself, and God needs no help from anybody, especially me. You see, if you had done to me just a fraction of what I've done to me, you'd be dead now. Because I'm the one. I had a part in it. And then, you know, the thing about it is, when I do my little part, and you come back with your part, you see, because I don't want to look at myself, I spend all my energy angry and mad at you. But the truth of the matter, Sister Annette Trice, is that I had a part in it. And most of the time, it was the leading part. You see, because I'm selfish and self-centered, and I want you to do what I want you to do. And when you don't do what I want you to do, then I become angry, irritable, and discontented. But the thing about it is, and people today, I find out they start talking about, well, that's just your interpretation of God. But you know what? God ain't but one God. It ain't but one God. And God is God. And when I let God be God, ain't but one interpretation of him. I got Bible on it. The Bible says there is no private interpretation of Scripture. When God says that you are saved, or in other words, you are reconciled, or in other words, you come back into harmony with me. And now you must understand, Brother George King, everybody don't want to be in harmony with God. You see, look, we ain't shaking hands, but I'm going to come back here and just give you bump your fist. Look, let me say this right here. In order for you to be successful, you've got to figure out what you want. Then you've got to understand, my brother, who are the people who want what you want? I got Bible on it. The Bible says, how can two walk together? Do not be up under the misconception that you need another person. You can make it without, I don't care how long you've been with them. I don't care what they look like. I don't care how much you love them, because it is not what you hate. It's what you love that's killing. I know I said something. It's what you love that's killing you. It ain't what you hate. I said from here to heaven, I don't care how good a man look. I don't care about his 8-pack and his chest. Ain't no kind of temptation or nothing there. It's not what we hate, but it's what we love that throws us off. God created us, Brother Curtis Powers, with purpose and direction. And when I understand that there is no way that is successful but God's way, then I quit trying my way. That's what we want to talk about this morning. Briefly, we're going to talk about the sovereignty of God. The fact that God is God all by himself. You see, they have misled us. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Let's go to Acts, the book, the Acts of the Apostle, the 27th chapter. The 27th chapter. You see, there's certain truths that you have to get down in your spirit And once that you get truth down in your spirit, then you know game when you see it. Because people got a many ways of shooting at you. It ain't coming just one way, but it's the same origin. It come from the same bad place. And if a person don't love you, you at the wrong place anyway. Now what is love? I used to think you loved me, Sister Renita Bland, if you laughed at all my jokes. I used to think you loved me, if you hype me up and tell me how great I am. But I understand this morning, Brother Jeff Dodd, that love is simply the ability for you to put me before you. You put my interests before your interests. And it's like Anthony Hamilton said, Mama knew love. I learned love. My California cousin, I learned love from this lady right here. I learned love from my mom. Because my mom is the only person in the world that I've never had 1 nanosecond to doubt that she loved me. That's even when she was putting that extension cord across my back. That's even when, now my mama she done got by with talking to me some kind of way. I promise you better not try it. Promise you better not try to talk to me like my mama talked to me. I come in, I'm high for that sense of mayor, my eyes all red. They look at you, you look just like Silly Willie. But I always knew that my mama would do without, and I saw it, Sister Kathy Jacobs, when she walked around with holes in her slip in order to send me to college. And I get there at college and I ain't going to class, I ain't doing no more smoking dope and trying to run up behind Deborah and whatever, And then I make all D's and F's, and then she come right back the next semester and try to scrape up the money to send love. And so y'all gave me a misconception of God, because the Bible said that God is love. And whatever you is what you is. And so then if God is love, that means that God always has me on his mind. What that means is that I cannot put myself in a place where God won't put me before himself. I got Bible on it. The Bible said that God so loved the world. Not you church folk. Not you tithe payers. Not you folks that's here every time the door open. Not you folks that don't never do nothing wrong. But the Bible says that he so loved the world that he gave his own. He clothed himself in flesh. He left his comfort of his home. He diminished himself and became a man and then died in order to free me from me. You know the reason you miserable this morning is because you're so full of you. It ain't got nothing to do with me. If you get free from you, you'll be all right. If you get free from you, what I'm doing won't bother you one bit. The Bible in Acts the 27th chapter. Let me look at Acts 27 and 31. Here the Bible says, Paul said to the centurion and the soldiers, except these abide in the ship, you cannot be saved. I'm starting a series today on the sovereignty of God. Look at your neighbor, look him right there now, and just tell him, say, God don't need your help. God don't need your help. I know I used to like to get drunk, and wasn't nobody even talking to me, Jeremy, but I was that kind of drunk that you hadn't even asked me no question or nothing. I just go to talking. Because that MD 2020 said you need to let them know. And so I obeyed the spirit that was within me. And I would just out, my brother just declare and say, you know what? If you see me in a bar fighting, help the bar. I don't need your help. And that was my declaration. But I found out, Sister Coach, down the road that I needed everybody. But God, sure enough, don't need your help. As a matter of fact, in your relationship with God, you messed the relationship up when you start trying to help him. Because he's got things well in hand. Now, one of the problems with that, Sister Tara Bird, is that I don't like how he do it, and I don't like his timing. And plus, I'm a pretty smart guy. You know how you are, young folks are, when you try to talk to them and tell them, well, Dad, you don't understand. You ever told them that? Like Deborah told her mama, because she noticed my actions and everything. Here this boy is, don't never wear no socks. He driving a car, and the car is smoking coming down. And then he drunk every time he come to the house to come get you, he drunk. She told him, she said, maybe you might not need to marry him. But Deborah, you know what she said, Mama, you don't understand. You don't understand. She said, Vander need me. You don't understand. Plus, beside him needing me is I love Vander. Now, I'm not for sure or nothing, but I'm sure that sometime in this 41 years that we've been married, she's had opportunity to reflect upon the advice that her mama gave me. And she said, I should have listened to my mama. But our thing is you don't understand. You see, I'm going to go back to Acts 27, but take me please over to Hebrews, the 11th chapter. And you see, once I understand how God operates, then I can get in line. If I think that there's something that I need to do in order for God to be able to do what he has to do, then when I fail not to do what I said I was going to do, then I think that cripples and in some way that holds God's hand. And you see, the Bible says that to cast not away your confidence. I almost died fooling with you church folk. I almost died because I needed God's help. But the framework, the work that you had given me made me feel like that I did not fit within that framework, because you told me that if you live right, then God will help you. You told me that if I paid my tithes, that God would open up the windows of heaven and pour me out a blessing that I wouldn't have room enough to receive. You told me that the reason I was catching so much hell was because of how I wasn't no good and I was rotten inside. I said Hebrews 11, give me Romans 5. Give me Romans 5. Romans 5. Look what the Bible says here. Therefore, being justified by faith. So then all I have to bring God is my belief and my trust. And that is why that the devil is after your confidence. He's after your confidence. He's out to discourage you. You see, if I don't, you got Robert and you got my mama here. And then, okay, if I lose confidence in Robert, I'm not going to come to him no more. I'm coming over here to my mama. And so the devil fights your mind in order to make you lose your confidence in God. Because the old folk were right when they say he never lost a case. But the thing about God is, Uncle George, is he specialized in looking like he ain't gonna come. Now, God showed me this right here. God will bless you, but he first going to embarrass you. First going to embarrass you. Have you lived long enough to know that you had to go down before you could come up? Have you lived long enough to know that you had to fall off before you could get on? But you see, what looks like that you done fell off ain't nothing but a setup. Because you see, you need to fall off in order that you can get rid of all them haters that been hanging. You got some folk that hanging around you just so they can see you fall. You got some folks that's hanging around just so they can be an eyewitness. And they can go back and tell the other folk, baby, he might have used to have, but I'm going to tell you, he's in bad. But God is. It wasn't Isaiah or B.B. King that said that you might have made your move too soon. They left you for dead, but when they get back, when they get back, you're clothed and in your right mind. You're better than, it was that boy Marvin Sapp that said, he said, look here, I never would have made it. You see, God's going to make it, Sister Betty, where that I stop trusting in flesh and blood. And then I find out, like the Baptist deacon, when he got down on bended knees, and he said, Father, I stretch my hands to thee. This is a personal thing right here. So a bunch of y'all don't know what I'm talking about. But I got 2 or 3 folks that pastor. I can preach that, what you talking about right now. Father, I stretch my hands to thee. No other help I. Then you go so far to say, if thou withdraw, see, you got some experience with him then. You ain't talking about what you learned in Sunday school. You've been out there in the streets, playing with the streets. The streets done whoop you cat raggedy. I don't know what cat raggedy is, but it got to be bad. And you come back in like a suck-egg dog with your tail all between you, but I'm going to tell you what you better did. Because you see, when you left, couldn't nobody tell you nothing. When you left, you knew something. When you left, there wasn't nobody doing nothing to you. When you left, you knew better than other folks. But when you came back, you were like the prodigal son. When you said, you ain't got to set me up in the house. Make me a hired servant. He'll bless you. But he first got to embarrass you. Got to get in the right place. You see, ain't but one God. And the real God, not this church folk God, but the real God don't want your help, ain't ask for none. And as a matter of fact, you in the way. You ever been in God's way? You ever been where God was trying? But Marcus, I believe that you could tell the saints, you say, look at him. God ain't just now start blessing me. All the days of my life, God been good to me. All the days of my life, God always provided just what I needed. It was me that caused me to suffer. But you see, God does not reward you according to your performance. There is no quid pro quo with God. That's the church folk. And thank God I ain't up under none of these insecure pastors where you scratch my back, I scratch your back. If I give you so much in your anniversary and that, then you'll call my name, then you'll make me the assistant to the assistant to give me some kind of title. I don't want no title. I want life, and I want it more abundant. If I got to walk by myself, I want peace deep down in my soul. I want to be, let me tell you, when you show enough bliss, it's a good when you get something, you get a new car, you get a nice house or something like that. That's good. But Sister Linda Coke, you blessed when somebody else get it, and you happen they are. Oh, I'm so glad that God bless you. Oh, I'm so glad that your children got into more. Oh, I'm so glad that you're doing better. Oh, I'm so glad that God has removed this. But then you're blessed. It don't have to be you. You happy about what God does for others. So the Bible says here, therefore being justified by faith. I got to. The Bible said don't cast away your confidence. You got to know that you know. And I'm talking to folks who've been through trials. I ain't talking to no little children. I'm talking to folk whose faith been tested. And the whole world's faith is being tested in 2020. Oh, yeah. I mean, we all in the storm, but we ain't all in the same boat. So don't tell me. Folks talking about, you better not go back out there and go to work. That pandemic, son, they can't even really pronounce it. That pandemic is still out there. And whatever. Well, you know what? You got a check that's still coming in. And some folk feel like those beggars did outside the city in 2 Kings when why should we here and die? You know what? That God will force you into a situation where I know I said something. God will force you into a situation where you got to trust him. And you see, it's something, Brother George King, about this pandemic that have made folks that forget the first rule of being a Negro, and that is mind your own business. We don't play that. Now, you got other races and stuff, they play it. We don't play. Hold on. You a little too close up on me. This ain't got nothing to do with you. You see what I'm saying? And so then it makes it extra hard when you just trying to make it and you got folks on the sideline who ain't none of their business. They dipping. Thank you, Jesus. Tell somebody else that God don't need your help. God don't need your help. This me and God. This me and God trying. You see what I'm saying? And God ain't looking for me to be perfect. God, and as a matter of fact, that's how come he took that flesh, that body to the cross, because he couldn't find nothing good in it. I got Bible on it. Paul says in Romans 7, chapter 18 verse, he said, I know that in me, that is in my flesh. Now we go back to the example of Robert and my mama. If I think it's something about me, there's something in me, then I'm gonna go to me. Let me put it like this. Resources. I have a lot of folk that want to talk to me now. When I was on crack and riding bicycle and everything, nobody had nothing to say to me. But now, 31 years later, some things have happened. I got a lot of folk who want to talk to me. Now, I don't need to get it twisted. I don't need to think that it's because of how wonderful I am, or that they just love me so much. It's something that they're trying to get from me. It's a resource, you see. But the moment, if you read in the paper, they said if Vander Bland lost his law license, it won't be that many folk coming to me. You see? And so I have to understand what the source. That's what we done, brother. We done tapped into the real source. I never gone there and wasn't nothing there. You see, I have folks at time to time will ask me to borrow money. Don't nobody ask my wife for no money. Because Deborah, she specialized in playing broke. Look at her now. She look now like she ain't got a dime. Specialized in looking broke. You see, I ain't got it. Give you such an honest looking look. I ain't got it. You got pretty eyes anyway, but she give it. I don't got it. Didn't have that look on either way you look at it like if I had, I'd make you take it. And I asked her one time, I said, Deborah, how come folks be asking me for money and they don't never found out? I don't find it necessary to tell folks what I got. Look, if you don't think that your help is there, that's not where you're going. You making the trip to the place where you can get what you want. And that's the reason that God really can't help you. He got to embarrass you. You got to fail in order to win. See, once that you see that there's nothing but failure in you, you don't go to you no more. Have you ever built yourself up and then kicked over the whole milk thing? Yes, sir. You really thought you were doing good. Blue skies, you whistling, everything wonderful and everything. And then some old messed up stuff that you did some other time come back, your records of your past come and just say, and God expose you for just who you are. You've been looking down on other folks. The Bible said, therefore being justified by faith. We got about 15 more minutes. Y'all bear with me. He says, now being justified, where did I run to? What be in Romans 5? Oh, you just went there for me. Okay, thank you. We have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. When I put my faith in God, when I understand, and see, faith is more than a suspicion. You see, I'm a prosecuting attorney as well. And, Lord have mercy, the police make my job real hard because they do a poor job and then expect me to convict somebody. And I'm not going to do it. If you didn't do it, I'm not getting ready to railroad nobody. You didn't do the proper thing on the search. You came up, you're supposed to have probable cause, but you ain't even got a reasonable suspicion. You just done profile because you was driving black. And so they stopped you, you see? So then faith is more than just some suspicion. Faith is when you take God at his word. There's certain ones in here. Robert, I've been with you for for the last 30 years on this journey of sobriety. And when you started. Can't nobody come wake me up out of my sleep and tell me certain things about you. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. You lying. I know him better than that. And that's how come you have to become intimately acquainted with God. But you can't become intimately acquainted with God as long as you're full of yourself. And that's the reason that God have to hold you up for shame. That you going through is not to destroy you, but it's to get rid of your confidence in yourself. Because you can't have confidence in God. But once that you make a boo-boo, once that you lose all confidence in yourself, then you can easily say, you can't make me doubt him. I know too much about him. I know God for myself. You see? So he says, by whom we also have access by faith into this grace wherein we stand, and we rejoice in the hope of the glory of God. Now, what is glory? Glory is the consummation. Glory is the end of something. Glory is when. And so that's the reason I'm saying, no new Negroes. No new Negroes. No. If you wasn't there when we started, I see so many men. See, I've been with Deborah, somebody, how y'all stay married 41 years? Stay. Carl, I used to, because I was ashamed, because I didn't act such a monkey, during my marriage. I used to be ashamed, my brother, and do a disclaimer. So we've been married, 41 years, but every day ain't been sunny, it's been some ups and downs and whatever, and I was going through that, and God told me, say, shut up. Said, it ain't supposed to be like that. It ain't supposed to be like that. We rode that horse. You need to be proud. You need to be glad that you stuck. You need to be glad that you did, because you can find an excuse. You got to stick right there with it. And so when you believe God, Tara, I just put it like this. That's what you went through. And I'm going to tell you something. If you're a real parent, don't nothing mess with you like when your child. I'm talking about a real parent. I ain't talking about, well, if you're real, let me give you just a good example back when they were little. You ever remember when your kids were small? You didn't have no cold or nothing, but your kid was in there in the other room and looked like he just couldn't stop coughing. Looked like he just was about to die. That thing just kept you. You couldn't sleep. But to get from where you are to where God is taking you, you got to hold on to the horns of the altar. And you got to say, God, come hell or high water. You got to be like the 3 Hebrew boys when they were getting ready to put them in the fiery furnace. And the king, they told the king, they said, King, we're not going to bow. I'm not going to put my confidence in nothing but God. The God that brought us across the Arabian desert from Jerusalem over here to Babylon, the same God. We're not going to put our confidence in anything else. So then, if he does not save us, I know he's able. I know he's able. So anytime I don't get something from God, that means God got something better. He got something better planned for me. I ain't no prophet. I don't like them folks that's standing up and stuff like this, right? Talking about something, and you talking old stuff that anybody know. Talking about something, you know what? I stand Jeff up. Jeff, you know what? The Lord just showed me you got a bathroom at your house. Then saying all kind of silly stuff, talking about something, you know what? You done cried your last cry. Somebody need to bust them upside the head where they go to crying right there. Lying to people. I don't know what God gonna do, because he God. Why you gonna He said that which is seen is not faith. If I knew, I wouldn't have to have faith. The songwriter said, Brother Jeff, he says, I don't know about tomorrow. But I know that he that holds tomorrow, he holds mine. Anytime that you begin to get shaken, anytime you begin to get discouraged, anytime that you start wondering, are you going to make it, remember who got your hand. And that's the reason when you're walking with God, it's not the fact that you got his hand. You remember? Let me see your hand, Mom. Remember when you get ready to take the kids across the street? That was until they got to the place, my brother, where I can. Oh yeah, it's gonna come a day they're gonna take their hand. Like, you can't help them then. But you know what? It might take it to 30, 35. They put their hand back in you. You better learn better then. But when you, Brother George King, is taking them across the street, you're not relying upon them holding your hand. Because you see, they're young and foolish, and they might take their hand and go on. So what you do is you make sure that your hand is tight enough that even when they try to let your hand go. And that's the way God is with us. God ain't depend. Let me tell y'all something. Most of the time, I don't even want to do right. You got to want something before you can do it. I've been saved since 1980. Still, I ain't got that thing y'all talking about. Y'all got church folk where you want to do right. Wrong just appeal to me a whole lot better than right do. And like I don't like to eat salads and celery and all this kind of stuff like that. Back when I was eating meat, I liked pig's feet and all the stuff that ain't no good for me. Just like when you go to the store and you look at stuff, all the stuff that look good to you is too high for you to buy. When you look over here at your budget, you say, well, I like this over here. Look what the Bible says. And we're getting ready to end. He says in verse 6, for when we were yet without, hey Brian, when we were yet without strength, in due time, Christ died for the ungodly. Run back to Acts 27. Run back to Acts 27 and we bring it on home. I'm so glad that God don't need my help because I really don't want to help him. Now I'm going to tell you when I want to help him. When I done messed up real bad, when the indictment done come down, Lord, you know I love you. I know I love you. Soon as I get out the trap, Jeremy, I got this. I need God to hold me. I can't. That's the reason in these 15 years, Kathy, I hadn't brought in one jackleg preacher to preach a revival for him to come in and take money that we need to run this church. I'm not doing it. Anytime you taking money out the house gonna suffer. Many men have tried to take care of 2 or 3 houses and they end up he didn't have nowhere to stay. I know y'all don't like that. If you get mad before you leave here, just remember, he ain't talking about you, he talking about himself. 27, we go back to that verse we were at where Paul told them, except you abide in the ship, you cannot be saved. Go to verse 21, and we're going to bring it on home. It's 10:43. We're supposed to go to 10:50. We might not go that long. Verse 21, chapter 27, it says, but after long abstinence, now go back up to verse 20. And when neither sun nor stars in many days appeared, and no small tempest lay on us, all hope that we should be saved was then taken away. Paul had told them to winter at Fair Oaks. We need to stay here. See, Paul was in contact with God. And if God is speaking through somebody, that means I'm supposed to listen at him because that's where my direction comes from. And he said we should winter here in Fair Oaks. But it looked so good. It wasn't a cloud on the horizon. And so they said, no, we can make it. We're going the wrong. And so they left, and it was fine. But then they ran up on something, you can read it in the Euroclydon. They ran up on a storm like they had never seen before. And then they began to be despaired. And look what that brings us to verse 21. It says, but after long abstinence, Paul stood forth in the midst of them and said, sirs, you should have hearkened unto me and not loose from Crete, and to have gained this harm and loss. Verse 22. And now I exhort you to be, Robert family. Oh, here, I got it. He says, and now I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. For there stood by me this night the angel of God, whose I am and whom I serve, saying, fear not, Paul, thou must be brought before Caesar, and lo, God have given thee all them that sail with thee. Look at verse 25. Wherefore, sirs, be of good cheer. That's a message I got after all them years on cocaine. I found my way to Cocaine Anonymous. You see, God got help that Satan will tell you, don't go get it. You see, because I had always been told that all my help was in the church. And it wasn't none now. Because all the church wanted to do was keep the church going and keep the offering going and keep the pastor, keep the pastor. I'm that preacher, I don't care. Everything he already paid for, it don't make no difference. To keep him going. But what about me? What about me? When my marriage was on the rocks, and I'm in the church, I spent 25 years going to church not hearing nothing. Not hearing nothing. When my marriage was on the rocks, you know what they did? They laughed. They said, wasn't nothing to him. He ain't no good. He ain't no good. I thought you church folk were good folk. Because I spent my days up there on the line drinking corn whiskey and everything, and I see y'all pass by on Sunday morning. I've been out all night. I would hide so you wouldn't see me, because that's Miss Bland's son. And I come in here and come to find out you didn't even know God. That's when I told God, Jeremy, that if you bless me, I won't be afraid of man, beast, nor police. You ain't got nothing to withhold from me to keep me from telling the truth. I'm on a mission to help myself and to help other people. I ain't got no other reason. I don't need your financial. I don't need your emotional. I don't need your psychological. I'm not discouraged, because my help comes from God. David said this right here. He said, I'm going to lift up my eyes. The moment you start depending on people is the day that you get on your way to failure. He said, but I'm going to lift up my eyes. He was the king. Everybody's supposed to be at his beck and call, but he said, I'm going to lift up my eyes unto the hills from which cometh my help. I got 3 minutes. Look what Paul says here in verse 24. Saying, fear not, Paul. That's what the angel, the messenger from God, told Paul. Thou must be brought before Caesar, and lo, God have given thee all them that sail with thee. Wherefore, sirs, be of good cheer, for I believe God, that it shall be even as it was told me. On down there, the verse that I read, the text says, Paul said to the centurion and to the soldiers, except these abide in the ship, you cannot be saved. I always thought, because this is what I was taught at church, was that my salvation lender depended upon me. I was told that if you live right, you go to heaven. I was told, get your business right. It was only after that I separated from the church and came over here. Well, we didn't come here. We was in the back room of our office with 7 folks. And it was funny. That was funny to them. What are you doing now? You know? I had folks grinning in my face. And then the moment I left them, and they told somebody that came back and told me. You see, God, he won't leave you ignorant. If you walk close to God, he going to let you know who with you and who not with you. He said, man, time you left, he told me, he said, man, they ain't doing nothing. They ain't going to come to nothing. But when you go to the right source, God don't need. Carl, we came out here. God put us here. I stayed in the church 25 years. Supported it. When we came out here, God told us, the pastor, the members, the deacons, nobody gave us a roll of toilet tissue. All they had for us was a bad word. I promise you I'm not bitter about that. They think I am, but I'm not. Because it was a lesson. And the lesson is that if God be for us, you just missed your shout. That was the whole reason you came here today. You just missed it. I hope it didn't go over your head. If God, I got a cousin that's over in Memphis. One of the biggest lawyers is over there. And he purposely, he wears dreads, he wears his urban, and he has ads on there. He told him, he said, you don't think a millionaire CEO look like this, do you? He said, you need to quit judging people by what they look like. If God be for us, and y'all know as black folk, most of us come from nothing, we ain't had nothing. And the folks that you I got 1 minute. If the folks that you looking for to be there to help you is the folks that ain't got nothing but a bad word for you. But if God be for us. Sorry, that's what you went through. I'm a minute over. All it was an opportunity to find out who was with you. God, she called me 2 o'clock, no, what, about 11 o'clock at night. What in the world are you calling me at 11 o'clock at night? Because I ain't that kind of pastor. Somebody called me to pray with me and everything. I'm asleep. But called about 11 o'clock at night. And she said, they said they needed me, her and her husband. I got in my car, drove over 100 and some miles. Wouldn't take no gas money, wouldn't take nothing. And that trial lasted, what it lasted, a year and a half? Almost 2 years. And I stuck with them, and I was there with them the whole 2 years. And it looked bad. But in the end, God gave them the victory. And so, any of y'all try to talk about Pastor Bland around Sheriff Bird, you just be quiet. What I'm saying is that our trials are time for us to know who we supposed to have confidence in. That we should have confidence in God. Clap your hands for the Lord. Great.